Some men use that as an excuse to offer nothing whatsoever. She's being unreasonable. She's asking me for this, this and this. So guess what? I'm going to give her nothing at all. To me, that's completely unacceptable because you're not doing it for her. You're doing it for your child.
When you say that, there's women that have children with multiple men. So when did they stop?
There comes to a point where you can't have specific conversations with him because it's just not going to connect the same. I feel like a dad needs to raise their son. It's completely different.
On a personal level, if I'm perfectly honest, I'd be offended if my partner demanded a paternity test.
What's going on, people, and welcome back to the Baby Fathers podcast for another brand new episode. I'm your host, and I go by the name of DJ Riddler. Before I start today's show, I need you to do me a big favor. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to subscribe to the channel now. Don't forget to like this video and share and press the notification button so anytime a new episode comes out, you lot are going to be the first to know, alright? So in today's show, we are doing it a bit different, alright? I think the last two shows we've just finished doing, it's been very intense. So I said today we want to do something a bit different. All right. So I have a guest panel with me today. So I want to say thank you for everyone for coming. All right. Today I want to kind of more focus on co-parenting. So on my left hand side, I have Sean, who you have seen, who's been on the Baby Fathers previously before. In the middle, I have Rochelle. How you doing?
I'm all right.
From the Baby Mothers podcast.
We always pronounce her name Rochelle. It's Rachel.
You know what? And I've been doing that for years as well, you know. Apology. But I'm going to say, listen, long time no see. I know you lot are coming back soon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was going to say thank you for coming today. All right.
No problem.
On my far left here, I have Princess, and she also has her own podcast. And what's your podcast called?
So my podcast is called Princess and Friends, and I have a podcast event called Pod and Party as well.
So I'm going to say thank you for coming down as well. All right. So this is
it's a pleasure.
So this is today's my guest panel. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is to do with why does the mothers have the rights to decide if the father should be on the birth certificate or not? You would like to go first? That's the question.
I feel like I'm going to go first, only because I've had this discussion with somebody not long ago, and I don't agree with the dad not being on the birth certificate for whatever reason. Even if you're not on good terms, I feel like the child needs to know who their dad is. So I always think that the dad should always go on the birth certificate, but some women, I think it's because you carry the child, you know, they feel like it's all them doing all the work, which it is. Obviously, you're carrying this child for 9 months, and that's what people say. I've been carrying this child for 9 months. You know, it's my decision what I should do and whatnot. And I feel like the women always feel like they're in control of everything. But really and truly, it's 50-50. The dad's got rights as well, and the dads do have rights.
Yeah, I agree somewhat to what Rachel said. However, who makes the laws? It's not the women that makes the laws. Number one, it's an actual legislation. That's actual law. So what about the fathers that don't want to be put on the birth certificate? Because the mother might want to put dad on, and dad might not want to be put on. So in those circumstances, that can be a bit technical as well, because she may put him on, he doesn't want to. What's the process for that? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I do think it's a law that needs to be reviewed, but what the technicalities around it look like, considering all parties, I'm not sure, because I think it's just easier for mum to make that decision, to be perfectly honest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying completely, but a lot of people don't know now that the dads have as much right as the mums now by law. So a lot of people don't really know that.
So if they're on the birth certificate, yeah, they do. Yeah, if they're on the birth certificate, but I guess it's if they want to be on the birth certificate, they should have that right to advocate for themselves and say, I want to be on as well.
Some men want to be on the birth certificate,
but like they can't be put on.
But the mum's saying, oh no, for whatever reason, they might not get along with the dad. And decide
no, I don't agree with that.
They want to be spiteful and say no.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't agree with that. I think as long as paternity is not an issue, I think that dad should be able to put himself on there. Yeah, because it's not between the mother and the father. It's about that child and that child knowing its identity. So
completely. I know someone that just the other day was like, no, I'm not putting the dad on the birth certificate because they got on my nerves throughout the whole entire pregnancy. They stressed me out the whole entire pregnancy.
Yeah, that's not
So
valid.
that's not a valid reason
that's
to not.
valid.
To
Yeah.
be fair, they can enforce that though. If they go to court, you can get a court order and they establish
And you can
paternity
enforce
and
Right.
DNA, and then they can have themselves placed on.
Right, that's
by court.
fair. So
So
there is
a
a
lot of the
process.
fellas that I know that do that, they don't want to do that because of the aggro and the cost.
Yeah, exactly. How many men will actually go through with doing that?
Now, to be fair, it's on the rise. You know, it's on the rise.
So
But-
it should
On the
be so it should be free. It should be free. They
Agree.
shouldn't have to be charged for that. So if there is discrepancies around dad going on the birth certificate, it should be a free process for them to challenge, go to court, and if they want to, then yeah, I think that's a fair solution.
So are you saying that it should be mandatory then?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. It should be mandatory. It should be.
What should
Definitely.
what should
That
be?
the father should be placed themselves in the birth certificate.
I
But
think it should be.
a reason why a lot of men don't do that is because they're trying to swerve the
right.
the child
Yeah.
maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that way they
Yeah.
think they can deny and say, "Listen, that ain't my child."
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously without the court order where they said, "Oh, well, we'll get a DNA test," they can say, "Well, I'm not showing up."
So let me put it in this way then. So if for the DNA test to be mandatory, yeah, the birth certificate to be mandatory, should there be a DNA test done once a child is being born to make sure that that child is the right biological father to that child? As we do know that in the past, men are saying that they think the child was theirs, and then years later they found out that the child wasn't theirs.
Do you know what? On a personal level, if I'm perfectly honest, I'd be offended if my partner demanded a paternity test. However, taking away my personal feelings out of the equation, I think it would solve a lot of issues
Yeah.
if there was something put in place for fathers that were having doubts, if there was something, you know, even if they did it discreetly, if, you know, I don't know how they would navigate that, but even if they did it discreetly and then was like, you know what, I'd really like to be sure, can I do this? And they do that for him at the hospital, he gets the results, and then, you know, there's no excuses moving forward. I think that probably would help a lot of
But do you know,
families.
but saying that as well, even with the dad on the birth certificate, there's always ways around not supporting or being responsible for the child. There's always, even if you get taken to court, there's honestly, I know so many people that have not had to pay child maintenance because they've somehow gotten away with it in court.
Because they say they're not working and things like that. Yeah.
There's loads of different loopholes.
Yeah.
So I don't think that being on the birth certificate even
It doesn't guarantee anything.
completely
Guarantee
eradicate.
anything, yeah.
But for those who are saying, I'm not sure if the child's mine, that would be kind of a way that is, because at the end of the day, it's the child, so that's suffering. So if this
Yeah.
goes on for years and years and years, the child's now 5, and you're only now getting around to doing a paternity test, that child could have had a father in its life for 5 years. So if that eliminates the child going without, I'm for it.
It will
Yeah.
reduce it, but we'll never eliminate it. It
Then.
reduces
if it
it
reduces it, then because it's a wider issue. This is happening too common for us not to be addressing it and doing something about it.
Would you feel offended, Rush, if the man asked you at birth, "I want to do a paternity test"?
I would feel offended if we've got a solid relationship and there is no reason to ask me, you know, if I'm the father to the child, if he's the father to the child, then
Yeah, you see,
I would feel completely offended. Yeah.
you lot are idealists. There's a lot of people where they think, oh, they're in a loving relationship, and then it's a sham. Or they think,
that can
he's
happen,
more
of course,
responsible.
but obviously, personally, knowing the type of person, I'm a very loyal person. So if my, partner was to ask me for a paternity test, then I would personally feel offended. Yeah.
It's
About-
like someone accusing you of cheating and you know
And
you've
you
been
haven't.
faithful. That's basically what it comes down
To be
to.
fair, I think it's the character, because something like that would never really bother me. As long as I know the truth, I don't ever get
Really?
nervous or upset about
I
that.
think there's something a bit more like special though with it when
Sacred,
it comes
yeah.
to a child and
But how many men who's been out there who think that the woman they thought they were in a solid relationship with the woman, these even people who's even been married,
Yeah.
and then find out that the child is not theirs, like.
don't get me wrong, I think it should it should happen, but I would feel offended.
So would you think if a man did ask that question that would put pressure on the relationship after him knowing
I
that?
would. I'd find it disrespectful because, like Rachel said, I would be faithful in that relationship, committed. I've, carried your child through safe passage for 9 months. That's a big deal. And now you're questioning, and now you're relaxed and feeling all nice about yourself. I'm upset. I'm going to be in my feelings. Let me keep it a buck.
Me personally, I think it should just be mandatory regardless if it's supposed to be answered to anyone. And
Yeah.
use-
Fair Fair enough.
I think it should just be managed, really. I don't think anyone should really get in their feelings. I get what your ladies are saying in terms of that you think offensively because your relationship is solid, but then where you ladies may be the good ladies, there's also ladies out there who are doing certain things
Yeah, of course.
where they're
If it's
then put a man in a
mandatory, then
We
situation.
won't be offended.
Yeah, you won't be
'cause it's across
offended.
the
Yeah, 'cause
board.
everyone has to do it,
Yeah,
then.
everyone's doing it. It's just a
If it's just the
thing.
thing that is sprung on you afterwards, it's like, oh, what?
You mentioned something regarding to do with fathers are able to dodge paying child support even when they're even on the birth certificate. Just on a basic level, how much do you think a father should be contributing towards his child per month?
I think it just depends on lifestyle and your income. What's the person's income? And if you've got low income, then I mean, to be completely honest, the child isn't expensive, up to a certain age. It's when they start becoming teenagers and they need certain things, and they get older and everything becomes more expensive, that the money needs to really be up.
I think that I share somewhat the same views. I think men also need to realise that finances aren't everything. So, for example, childcare for a lot of mums is a huge deal, is a huge thing. Childcare, when you're looking after a child and you're trying to work, is so expensive. So if that man, he may not necessarily be making the amount that it costs for the child to be in childcare every day, but if he puts something in place, I don't know, an aunt, a cousin, family members, that this child could be cared for appropriately, stuff like that would cover the expenses, and the woman would not be able to ask, look, I need etc. etc. If he, for example, there's a lot of food banks out there at the moment and things like that. If he came with shopping every week and was like, look, this is what baby eats, his fruits, his veg, his bread, whatever the case may be, you can eliminate those costs. So sometimes I think the focus is a lot on, oh, she's asking for this amount and that amount. If you're looking at the child's needs and you're adequately covering those needs, you can actually say, do you know what, because I've provided this, do I really need to spend this amount of money if money is your issue? It's about resources. And if you're thinking outside the box and as a parent that will do anything that it takes to provide for your child, you're going to go and source those resources, aren't you? So I think we need to kind of come away a little bit from the monetary value, because there are things that she's asking for. So if he says, what do you need the money for? And she's saying, well, I need to work. I need to pay the child the X amount of money. And he says, do you know what? I can look after baby 2 days. My mum's willing, etc., etc. There's a lot of things that if you think outside the box, because some men fixate on, she just wants money from me. She just wants to, there's ways around that. There's ways to navigate that. Do you know what
That's
I mean?
because you're reasonable. There's women that's not
Yeah,
like you.
but then
and Rachel.
If it's like, you got to think as well, if you're having to ask for child support, then that means the person, the parent or the dad is not doing what they're
It's
supposed
not
to be doing.
providing.
So that's the reason in the first place to have to ask for an amount.
Just kind of going back to what Princess was saying, like what you have made a good point there, but I think what happens in the communication in that is it gets lost, because the mother who may be having a situation with the father, they may not see eye to eye. Her energy is just coming with, oh, I want money, I need this money, and I think that's where the communication gets lost. Some mothers are very focused on the money. I want this money on this day, give me this, or you can't see the child. That dad only just sees it as it's just comes down to the money thing.
And that pushes a lot of dads away as well. Just pushes them away for that.
That's
from the entire
valid,
thing.
because that is valid, because the communication is a big thing. Because if you're not seeing eye to eye, you may not even want to disclose, look, these are the issues that I'm facing and this is what I want it for. It's like, look, I'm doing all of this, I'm stressed out, the least you could do is cover these costs. I guess if the communication isn't there, then I could see how it could be seen like that. But at the end of the day, if you're providing something, some men use that as an excuse to offer nothing whatsoever. She's being unreasonable, she's asking me for this, this and this, so guess what, I'm going to give her nothing at all. To me, that's completely unacceptable, because you're not doing it for her, you're doing it for your child. child. It's got nothing to do with, oh, she's being unreasonable. Okay, you give what you feel is reasonable, if that's the case. Don't use that as an excuse, because you're proving her point that actually you don't want to do anything, because that's probably why she's annoyed in the first place. Because let's be real, some men use child maintenance and withholding it as a way to punish the woman.
Control.
Yeah, and a way of control.
Mm.
So it becomes deeper, and especially in a telling sign of that is a man who withholds all types of support, physical support, financial support. That's a telling sign. If you ask a man, okay, so all right, she's being unreasonable, but what have you tried? And he just comes out with excuses. 9 times out of 10, he's upset that she's left, or he's upset at the way that they've broken up, or he just dislikes her now, and he's not seeing the child as the focal point.
Going back to what you've just said there, because there is lots of fathers out here who are fighting to be with their kids.
Right. I think fathers sometimes disempower themselves, because they think if I can't offer certain things, then I don't have any value.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
that's not the
They do
truth.
that as well.
That's not the truth, because you are that child's father for a reason. There are things that you can instill in that child, even down to integrity, values, principles. They are free. They don't cost any money whatsoever. But I have spoken to a lot of men themselves that said, I don't want to go there, sis. And I'm like, why? And they're like, I feel like a failure because I haven't got enough money. I haven't got the money that she's asking for. And I'm saying, bro, but you can go there and just be around, just you being around your, especially daughters as well, and just pouring into her and making her feel good about herself and letting her know I'm on the other end of the phone. You call me if you've got any issues, and being that emotional support. I don't think men really understand that there's a lot of emphasis on that side of things for children. It's a big deal. Just
No,
I'm
they
gonna
know.
call my dad.
No, to be fair,
you
no,
know?
they do know. They do know. But,
Do they?
Yeah, but I think it's a cultural thing. It's not just the women, but obviously in society, men are seen as disposable. And they're only good as their job. So obviously that automatically is undermining their esteem.
So if they
self-esteem.
don't have the money, then they don't.
Because I've seen plenty, particularly with the people that I know and grew up with. Like my first son's mother, I used to do those kind of things that you're saying. But then if I was in low paid work, she would criticise and carry on. So what I used to do, he said, all right, when none of my days off at the time at university or college, he said, I'll take him. So basically the first 3 years of his life, most of the time is with me. You got to realise there's people shamming and glamming. There's hidden agendas, or they don't like that you moved on, you got a new partner, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as much as that has an impact on women, it is on men too. Remember, there's jealous women.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
women that don't like that you've had
100%.
kids elsewhere, and they feel the other kids are getting more than what they're getting.
They start
And
using the
you
child
get
as a
the
weapon.
delusion. Yeah, of course. They become delusional. So
Yeah.
it's a fine balance.
Can men really have multiple children in different households and be a good father to all of them?
Yes.
I think it depends how much. To be fair, it depends how
How
much.
many you have?
But
Yeah.
I think a father can be a good father into all households. I think it literally just comes down to the friendship you have with the child's mother. If you lot have got a good friendship in terms of, even if you're not together, you're able to cooperate with healthily, then it can be good in that between you and them. I find that if it's a mother, when you are not seeing eye to eye, it becomes a bit more difficult, because what you're now dealing with, you're dealing with her emotions, and she's picking and choosing when you can see the child, when you can't see the child. As he kind of mentioned, that if you only got a certain amount of money, they're looking at you as like, raw. Where
You're
you,
failing.
yeah. Money should not be the object of a father
Not
seeing
being
his child.
Yeah, it shouldn't
Yeah,
be. That's right. That's the nutshell
So what
of it.
happens then when, you've got a child with one mum, and then you move on into a new relationship and you have a child from this new relationship, but you're paying child support to your first child's mum, or, your other child's mum. Do you think that, if the dad decides, I can't really afford to pay the same child support that I was paying because I've got this, another
New
child
child, yeah, of
now.
course.
And do you think that is, okay for them to drop the child support, or do you think that they should carry on paying the same
No,
child
they
support?
should pay. They should still pay. But I think if they're, like you said, if they're in low income, what can they do?
But then, they can stop having children.
Yeah, no, but
Yeah, they could do that.
No, I'm not talking about when it's more than like a couple.
Circumstances change. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, because I think some people become reliant and they'll say, well, she's getting benefits. She's all right. She's getting benefits. I don't have to do anything. And it's like...
You think so?
Yeah, definitely.
I know there's people like that, but I don't think it's as
Come on,
often as you
think. There's people like that. They'll be like, she's fine. She's asking
Nah,
too much.
none of
But
my
you know
people-
what?
Because he knows
Just-
it's true.
None of
No,
my
but
people-
just
none of the
going-
people that I knock heads with if I've ever said
But
that.
just going back to that question, what you just answered or said there, yeah, I believe another child should not affect a father still paying that same amount of money to what he was paying before. If that even comes down to having to get another job
Yes.
or a part-time job to make that money up, because at the end of the day, that means that child is now suffering, right? Obviously, circumstances can change, but it should not affect that household for what you have done somewhere else. So that's that's supposed to be running as normal.
Yeah.
If you got to get a little part-time job, you can get another part-time job. We're still going to contribute and keep that same situation running.
No, I think it's unrealistic still. If you got a child that you live with, or say you've moved on and you've married them, you can't expect the same money if they got more overheads and their incomes ain't risen. It hasn't risen. Because some people, they go and get part-time job and all it does, maybe their rent goes up. You see, or their bills go up. You see what I mean? Because they're taking care of two
We do
households.
understand the cost of living is crazy at the moment, but then that's why you've got to be responsible, because I can't imagine like looking at my children and being like, okay, you can't have because I now have to take away this
Yeah, of course,
because
ideally,
I've chosen to
but
have
that's
another child, because that has nothing to do with that child. That's
of
not
course.
that child's
That's
fault.
true. That's
so
true.
I've
That's true.
established a certain way of living for that child, and now I'm taking it away, because that's when the resentment comes
I
in.
know, but what you're dealing with is ideals. But unfortunately, with humans, it's not an ideal situation. You see what I mean?
I hate
And then
you.
there's other things that you can do. Like, for instance, you see my eldest, what I should do, I should pay the rent on the mother's place.
Oh wow, that's
That
a
the
big
housing
deal.
benefit wouldn't cost. And I should take out other kids
That's
as
a big
well.
deal. That's
So
a big deal.
with that, you've got to factor in these things. But for some people, it's still not good enough. You see what I mean?
Mm.
And when you have children that you live with, or you get married and you move on and you've got your own life and that, and you bought a bigger place,
Mm.
you can't, unless you're a millionaire, it's probably not feasible to be able to maintain the same income you have when you had less children. Now, when you say that, there's women that have children with multiple men. So when did they stop? You see what I mean? Where's good for the goose has got to be good for the gander. There has to be balance.
No, I agree
Yeah,
on both
yeah.
sides. I agree
Yeah,
for
no,
that.
and
But
when
yeah,
the
that
But you know what?
sentiment goes for both.
But even again, because I could never, especially to remember when you got boy kids and you're growing young men, I can't show him that it's fine for me to turn and say I can't do this no more because I've now moved on doing that. I still have to show him, because I can't allow anything to affect what's going on with him. So if I turn and say to my son, "Oh, do you know what? I've got this going on now. I've got that happening. So I can't do that for you no more." I'm now affecting.
But do you think that the child should have
Yeah, that's only
knowledge
financial,
of your financial situation?
No.
Or is that between you and the mum?
I think that's between me and my mum. I don't think a child should get involved.
No, sure
In
not.
anything
The
to do with
money.
the financial.
Never,
Agreed,
never.
agreed.
That's what I don't think they should have been
But
involved in
we
anything
have
like
to be realistic. We don't live in Walt Disney. So if you've got children in other households and you've got costs and things, I don't think it's feasible unless got big money that you can do the exact same things. It's not feasible. It's not feasible.
But you don't believe treat your kids all the same.
Yeah, you try to,
Yeah.
but that never happens.
Damn.
Yeah, it's like saying 50-50. We don't have
How-
50-50.
how do you mean it doesn't
we,
happen?
we inseminate women. Women give birth, so they carry them for 9 months. We say 50-50, but the birthing process is not 50-50.
As a basic, right? Because I think if the communication is not the best at times, there should at least be a basic level what a father should be contributing every month. Just on the top of your lot's head, how much you would think just to run? When I'm talking about on the basic, I'm just talking about food, clothing, and just going to school. We're not talking about like the activities in the evening. So what is a basic rate that a mother could actually survive on?
I think the minimum, for between 400 and 500 in this day and age, in this time,
That's
cost of
reasonable, that's
cost of
reasonable.
living.
about between 250,
$250 a month
between 250 and 500
per child.
No, for household. I would say for household. Honestly
Per
speaking,
household.
if you're being realistic,
Yeah, exactly.
if you're being realistic, it's not a lot of money, but I mean,
it's not a lot of money,
You got
it's
to
not.
think about that person's situation as well. You're in two separate households.
That's
You're
reasonable.
both paying rent in your own homes or whatever, and shopping, bills, everything. I mean,
That's
you don't want to put
reasonable.
that person in the situation, the dad in the situation where they can't come and even emotionally look after their child. Come and take them out or anything like that because their money's just gone.
Okay.
Really and truly.
Sure.
Yeah, no, that's reasonable. I would say between 200 250 as well. So even if they're on benefits, they can contribute something.
If you're not disabled, I think if you're an able-bodied person, physically and mentally, I just think I don't think there's any excuse. I think £400 to £500 is the bare minimum. If you're able-bodied in this England, you should be able to go and make that for your child, and then be able to make for yourself to live. It would make people a lot more intentional about having children. They would become, if you see, even from the DNA at birth, the birth certificate and all those processes, you see all of these things being put into place, because what we're talking about is responsibility. So that would, I understand everything that you're saying, you know, about cost of living, universal credit, all of these things, but the fact of the matter is, unless you've had a mishap, you shouldn't have children and be on universal credit.
No, they didn't start off. They
You
didn't
see what I'm
start off
saying?
like that. They didn't
Do you
start
see
off
what
like
I'm
that.
saying though? But so that's what I'm saying. If, of course, if you have a dip in circumstances, I'm with you on that. Don't kill off the person demanding money from them. I understand. But if you're able-bodied, you understand that you bringing life into this world is the greatest responsibility you'll ever have. That life didn't ask to be put here. You created it. So you have a duty of care from conception to make provision for that child, and you got 9 months to get your stuff in gear. And I'm
But do
talking,
you have a sorry?
Yeah,
But
sure.
do you have a child with someone and expect to not be in the same household as them, and
yeah, that's it.
expect
that's
to be
it.
separate from them?
Some people do, but I think with these things put in place, the incentive to stay in your household and make it work out would be a lot more.
Yeah, but then you'd be going back to the caveman era where you get the domestic abuse, the psychological issues. You see what I mean? You got to find a balance, because it's not a snapback, one size fit all. It's got to be fitted. It's got to be according to the circumstances of the person.
I hear you, but I
There's
think
no way I
we'd be
could
a
have
lot
said my
more
first one,
intentional. We'd be a lot more responsible about who we have children with.
Like hard labour.
But when we're looking at how many children are in the system in social services, I'm not saying that, you know, we can compare it, but there are a lot of children in a lot of children in social care right now.
You say all
there
that.
also are a lot of mums that are saying, I don't want to be a single mum anymore. This pressure is too much for me. I would rather give over my child than actually suffer this anymore. It's
But
too
there's
much.
men that would willingly take their children. You see what happened?
Yeah.
A lot of
There's-
child services gynocentric. So you get a lot of people that in there that have an ideology around feminism, and most of the staff, 81% of the staff when I last checked, was female. So I said, what do you think is going to happen then?
That's
And
not-
like, you see, like Logan Morangi, they asked them, how comes the dad was complaining about the mother, yet he's not had the opportunity to have the child full time?
So
They put them off into
you
false
see what we
adoption.
spoke about before about the so when you go through court proceedings, if that child has a father on the birth certificate, it's mandatory that they explore that child and that child's father and that child's father's family network. They do viability assessments on them all first before putting that child into care. So as we were saying about the birth certificate before, as long as the father is on that birth certificate, he's going to be explored as an option. So that's his duty to make sure he's on that birth certificate.
that's what it is in terms of the rules and policies. I'm aware of them, but what happens in reality, that doesn't go on because of the cultural differences. So for instance, again with my eldest son, I went to court for him full-time, self-represented. Now, basically, the way I looked at my background is like Jesus H. Christ compared to the mothers. But
Right.
I still only got a Saturday 5 hours afterwards, when before I was having them all the time. So when I used to hear about these horror stories in the papers, I thought, it's maybe one-off. But then when I started to campaign, it's regular. It's regular. You've got people that have had molestation in their background, and they've got the children still. So why when I've gone in like as a consultant, said, why are they the father not being considered? Oh well, do they want the child? I said, have you asked them? It's the whole idea is where they're not even approaching them like that. Yeah, and these things happen often.
You said something about mothers are struggling in terms of looking after their kids and then this one and then give up their child. What puts them in that place for them to feel that they don't want their youth no more?
A lack of support.
From who? The government or the dad?
So I don't even think so. Government are not going to say, okay, madam, if you're feeling mentally overwhelmed, we will come in and give you some respite tonight. They're not going to do that unless your child has severe disabilities. And even in that respect, there are mums fighting for respite.
So in regarding to, because this is a question I did want to answer, right? Because I know we are touching on different things, but do you think that, and this is going into court, Do you think by a mother stopping the father from seeing his child and there's no safeguarding issues, do you think that there's something should happen towards the mother inside the legal system?
I think it does. So if he does take it to the court arena, like you said, as long as there's no safeguarding or any reasons why he shouldn't be in that child's life, there will be visitation put in place, and if she doesn't adhere to it, she will have to come back to court and answer for it, and there will be legal stipulations in place that if she doesn't stick to that arrangement, she will have to face.
But they're seldom enforced. That's the thing.
Sorry?
They're not really enforced. They're seldom enforced, especially when it's a single mother. There's a cultural bias that says we can't do that because we're breaking down the family, or they could be left parentless. So that culture, even though that's written down on paper, that's not what goes on.
But it's the same with child support, though, isn't it? The men are supposed to, and it's the same with them with visitation. There are things that are put in place. They're supposed to see the child.
They don't. Yeah, they don't.
No, but
They
even
don't,
but
so
no,
it's
no, no, no.
kinda
But
similar.
even with the child support, if your name is on a child in the birth certificate and the mum is going child support and the father doesn't pay, they can actually go in the father's account and take the money. From
Yeah,
his
no, that's
account.
only recent though. That's only recent.
Yeah, they
That's
can,
only
and
recent.
they
I
can
didn't even know
also
that could happen.
Yeah,
passport,
2023,
yeah,
they changed it
they
last
can-
year.
they
They can seize your
also
passport and your
seize
license.
your
One
passport.
person, princess.
Yeah,
go.
they can seize your passport. They can seize your passport and stop you traveling out of the country as well. But yeah, so they could also put those sanctions on the mum if that's the case. There's nothing stopping them.
But
They
the
could
prob-
also do that.
But the problem is, they will go in the dad's account and take his money. That is a thing. And they do that.
Yeah.
A father who's traveling out the country and he hasn't paid child support, they actually won't let the father travel if there is something on that. But when the mother's going to court and she's denying the father access, after when the paper has been granted that the father can get access to see the child, and he has to keep on going back and back and back because the mum is not following the court order, it doesn't, nothing happens to the mother.
No, it does.
I
It
mean,
does.
it does.
They do. It's
It
rare
does.
though. It's very rare.
It does, because I know dads who have full custody or they're the main carers of their children off the back of that, off the back of mums not sticking to the visitation schedule, and there's she's not given a reason for it.
But it's
Yeah.
rare though. That's not every rule.
You gotta
It's a
fight.
rule of thumb.
You have to fight for it. You have to fight for it. But it's the same with child maintenance and stuff like that. You still have to make the application. You still have to do. We all have to go through these processes, but there are processes in place for these things. So you're asking what happens to the mum. There's processes, and I'm not saying that. Oh yes, he should have to fight. No, but there is an arena that he can present himself and say, look, this is what's happening, and you do have to have that determination. And I've seen it firsthand where fathers have become sole carers
Of course,
of their children.
But
off
it's
the back of that.
it's still less than what it comes when it comes to court orders. They're not applied. You're talking about a small percentage. You see what I mean? It's like saying there's 480,000 single father households in the UK, but there's 70 million people. So it's still, and there's more dads that want full-time care.
So talking about
want to be involved.
So
in
talking
that.
about full time, then going to the boy kids, right? So if say the mum and dad are not together no more, do you think automatically the boy should move with the father, allow him to bring him up? Rachel,
I would say so. Only because I know that I've got a boy myself. I can do only so much with him. There comes to a point where you can't have specific conversations with him because it's just not going to connect the same. I feel like a dad needs to raise their son. It's completely different.
Princess.
It's really interesting. I don't think it should be exclusive to just boys, to be perfectly honest, because when girls hit teenage years, you'll see that there's a lot of dysfunction between mum and daughter, especially when they're 12, 13 and exploring new friends, sexuality, all of that type of stuff. Things become incredibly rocky, and I always encourage fathers to actively get involved. I don't think it's a bad idea actually for the daughter to go and live with her dad at that time. It makes a lot of sense. Boys are going to be onto her. She's going to be at that age. You see a lot of children sending nudes, things like that, getting involved, watching pornography, all of these types of things. Dad can put his foot down with girls as well. So I think that's also
I
important.
think it depends on your parenting though, because I would say that I would definitely put my foot down in that type of situation. It depends on your parenting skills, and maybe people think that mums are just soft because they're the mum. But it wouldn't be the case.
Not necessarily. I
In my
don't think mums are soft, but it's just because of the work that I do. I see mums that are that are the sole carers of their children, and then they get to a certain age and the child is in rebellious stage now. So you could be the best mum, best boundaries and
That's true.
everything, but this child is actively rebelling against you. When dad comes in with his authority, and because he's not there all the time as well, that just change of environment and change of authority, it does wonders. So I think both children, both genders can benefit from living, and it might not be full time. It might be, okay, I've got 5 days of the week, on the weekend you go to the mum. It's what's good for the child's needs. Some children that wouldn't work. Some children that would be traumatic to be sent just to dad. I don't want to be here. It's not resonating.
I think that dads are a bit soft with their daughters, though,
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
because
Yeah, that's
I feel
interesting.
like, just from experience, I feel like that dads would be a bit more lenient with their girls because they can't really be too strict because they're girls. You know, they don't want to be so hard on them. Whereas,
to be
obviously,
fair,
like you said, you know, mothers and daughters do clash at certain points, and but I feel like the mum would probably come down a bit harder because they don't want, you know,
But
certain
the way-
things
that's
to
a
carry
general
on.
thing.
The way
though.
they
You
I
it's
think
receive-
generally, yeah. I
Yeah,
generally
yeah.
The
think
way
that,
they
yeah.
receive it is different, and even dad dropping off daughter to school and saying, my dad is coming to pick me up. You as men, you have once been teenage boys, so to hear that my dad is coming to collect me, or I live with my dad, it hits different to my mum.
I just feel like, coming back to what you said about boys living with their dads, I feel like there's a lot of women think that they can do it all, but you can't.
True.
You really can't. If the boy gets a certain age and they either need their uncle, they need a man around them.
Agree.
Agree.
They need a man, and whether it's your uncle or you know, an older cousin or your dad, I just don't think that a woman can do everything in that aspect.
And what age group do you think a boy should move to his dad's house if that was the case?
When they hit puberty.
What, 12, 13 or
12,
9?
13, you know, it just depends on the situation at home as well. But I think definitely when they hit puberty, because like I said, there's only so much you
Is
can
that
do.
forever?
It doesn't mean forever, no. I mean, obviously, you might have your, you know, a setup where you obviously pick your son up on the weekend or something like that. But I feel like the man can show them, if they're proper, you know, how to be a man, really. A woman can't show a boy how to be a man. No matter how much they think they can. You can't. You
Sean?
I'll say from 10.
can teach them.
From 10. Well, obviously, I try to get my eldest from 10, but I think from 10, for both genders, from 10, they should have a spell living with their father.
Why do you think both genders, with the girls in
I
particular?
think both. Yeah, because obviously, like you said, the promiscuity thing, obviously the nudes, the way things are going in terms of the
Yeah.
moral
I would
basis
say-
and the principles.
Yeah, with
I would
girls, I'd
say-
say younger, but not older. When they hit like puberty, I think if a girl hits puberty, you can't send them to live with their dad because it's going to be.
I don't
they're going to
think.
start rebelling.
I don't think a girl should move with her father. I think the father should have the boy, and the mum should have the daughter, and she brings up that daughter to show how to be a woman.
Yeah,
The
that's
father shows the son how to be a man. That's how I would personally see it.
Well, to be fair, you know, they done the outcomes the other day with that same book I showed you about and
Yeah.
the peer-reviewed research. They said the single father household has the best outcomes,
just
as good as the two-parent household. So
Yeah, because they say that the fathers are more emotionally regulated than the mums, and there are things, and that's what I'm saying. When teenage girls reach a certain age, there's also things that a man can tell a young girl about boys and their behavior that a girl is not going to take from her mum.
Most definitely, but I don't feel like that the girl should go and live with their dad for that. He can still do that, and the girl live with their mum.
Just from what I've witnessed, I think it helps. I think it helps. That same, even for a spell, like you say, for a spell.
yeah, cool. It's not fair.
It helps because there are so many different things going on. There's emotionally, physically, you need that level of protection as well. That protection, that authority. And that's what I'm saying. I don't know if men really understand their power, especially with their girls. What my dad means, like that coming out of a girl's my dad. It's a big deal. Even for her, she feels empowered saying it. My dad's gonna pick me up. Oh, I've got a problem. I'm gonna call.
So
my
are you
dad.
saying that
You're
you're
right.
That's
saying
the thing. That's the thing.
so you're saying if a father's not involved in his child's life, you're saying that she's going to be seeking that love from someone else?
It happens, and
it
also
happens.
she misunderstands it. There's a lot of understanding that she lacks because you don't have a man. You don't see what a man moving around you looks like. You don't know how a man's supposed to treat you. I asked to mentor some young girls and be like, "What do you mean you went all of that way and he didn't walk you to the bus stop, or he didn't ask you if you what he didn't give you a drink, or just basic things that you would think is basic etiquette that they should know, they don't know because they haven't been in a household with a man to show them these things.
So why can't a woman show them those things?
They can, but when it's active, it's just like when a boy doesn't have a mum in his life, and he has not. That also can translate into dysfunction when he's older because he doesn't know how to interact with women. He doesn't know how to receive love from a woman, and he doesn't know how to give. So it's the same with a girl. She might be overcompensating and trying to prove herself to this man and be seeking this love. We see it all the time. A lot of the time when young girls are promiscuous, it's not because she's just a deviant. It's because she's looking to be accepted, she's looking to be loved, she's looking to be validated. That's why it's important for men to look at their daughters and say, you're beautiful, you're a queen, this is how you should be treated, you know, no less by any of your female friends, any male that's around you. Don't let anybody treat you any type of way. And they'll be able to say, you never hear women say, my dad treats me like da-da-da-da-da, my dad sets this standard for me, and that's what you are expected to adhere to. If that's lacking, then, you know, it kind of leaves a little bit of a gap.
I'm with you with that, right? But sometimes I think the problem with that is if you have a mother who is talking badly about the father, how can she look at her dad as a superhero? Because all you're getting is the mother is saying your dad is this and your dad is that, and he's all this bad stuff. The child is actually looking at the dad in a different kind of way than a superhero.
Yeah, I don't believe in any parent undermining or speaking badly of the other parent, because unless that parent is dangerous, I don't believe in that, because to you that's just your relationship gone wrong, gone sour. To that child, that is, like you said, they're a superhero. Who else are they going to look up to? You're leaving that child empty and vulnerable, actually, unless you're replacing it with something, and there has to be a good reason why you would replace a parent anyway. It's irresponsible to do that, and a little bit selfish as well.
To be fair, it does depend on character, though, because I've seen children that have nothing to do with their dads, and they go looking for them after decades. And they've been bad-mouthed, told things about them, they still go and look for them anyway.
Because you have that
depends on your conscience and character.
curiosity.
Exactly. So,
Facts.
You just said something there about parent is replacing them. So say the mother lives with somebody and is talking bad about the father, and she then replaces him with a new stepdad, and then minuses off the father because she has a stepdad in his role.
Yeah, I don't think morally that's I don't think that morally that's okay, personally, and it's not something that I would do personally. But it's just like we were talking earlier, like when you move on from your household as a man, you move on from your household, you have another family, you have a woman, you have other children, etc. Things shift, things change. And if she has another partner, I don't believe in saying, oh no, dad's crap, now I've got another partner, worship this guy. I don't believe in that. But unfortunately, that man might become a really main, solid role model in your child's life, and that's why good communication is really healthy, so you be able to actually meet that man and be like, well, you know, I'm dad, how are we going to parent together as a unit, rather than feel disempowered and pushed out like, child, he's raided my child, now I might as well just give up, because that's not how it should be.
There's a lot of guys out there that do that, you know? Yeah.
It's sad.
But I think the reason why some fathers may just step away is either because the mother is allowing this man to then say this is what's not happening. Because I find out what happened in some relationships is that when a new man comes into that relationship, sometimes he's now telling the mother that he doesn't want the father around, or he's trying to dictate about what goes on, because you know you get some men, they're jealous of the baby father being around still.
I can understand that.
He will then cause problems in terms of, he can't be around the house, or who's phoning your phone, what's going on here, and just them small little things. So the mother's then trying to please the new part.
To lose their relationship.
You see what I'm trying to say to you? So then she's happy to sacrifice the father for not being around.
Yeah,
This is why you have to have conversations before you get into relationships with people. There's a lot of that going on.
Well, some people pretend.
And also healthy boundaries, because before this partner was involved in your child's mother's world, you might be able to call at 11 o'clock or send a text message at midnight just because you thought about it. I'll just message her. But that no longer becomes appropriate when she's got a partner. So it's actually having a bit of respect as well for the relationship, and showing those healthy boundaries. So it might not be her just be like, I don't want him around anymore. It might be like, I want to respect my relationship. You can't move like how you can't just
Yeah,
turn
definitely.
up like you used to turn up,
And that's
because
for them
that's
to
not just my
understand.
house.
That's for the other person to understand as well.
Right.
Yeah, but the balance is always hard with humans because we're fickle.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we're
agreed.
a thing by nature.
Agreed.
The warped emotions.
The next question I was going to ask you lot is about teaching our kids how to safeguard themselves. That's obviously males to females and females to males. Like, how do you go? What kind of things do you say to your child about safeguarding themselves? I'd start with you, Rush.
It's difficult. I mean, I can only say so much again because I've got a boy. He's 13 now, and I've taught him from very young anyway. You know how to respect women, but also how to be careful because you have to. There's obviously we know there's a lot of women out there who create dramas, and there's nothing ever happened. You know, so it's a bit of a difficult one. You can only tell them and teach them so much, but what can you actually teach? Like just to keep your head down at school because he goes to a mixed school. So and he's already had issues with girls in school that fancy him, but obviously he's just keeping his head down or doing whatever he's doing. And now they want to gang up on him and get him in his trouble. I've had brothers.
I had that when I was young.
People come down to the school trying to beat up my 12 at the time, 12-year-old son, big men, because this girl fancied him and he just didn't want nothing to do with it. He's at school. So, I've had to try and teach him how to keep away from girls like that, but it's difficult because you just never know what they're going to run into. And only, again, going back to, boys being with their dads and being raised by their dads, I feel like that's something where the man can step in and teach them a bit more that I probably wouldn't know to tell him, you know?
Sean?
In terms of my children, well, what I've done over the years is said, listen, try and treat each other with respect, because I said you never know what they're doing mentally and how they are emotionally, because we have these narratives and like ideas about someone's reasonable household, they're gonna have some kind of parenting, so we're kind of the same. I said that no, there's a big disparity. So I said you got to be aware of that. So when you go out by yourself as well, I said try and be reasonable and confident, but never ever show fear. Obviously my female family members, I said listen, go out with your friends, make sure they're with you, and as much as I know some women don't like, I said listen, be modest, dress modestly. I said be respectful, obviously be confident and that, be respectful, but don't go into certain situations where if things went south, it could get real bad. So to always you plan for the worst, expect the best. So I said that way you can never be caught out. I said, and if you feel a vibe or trust your instinct, make sure you exit as soon as possible.
Okay, so I do consent workshops with both boys and girls, and for boys, I think the lines around consent are really blurred, and I've realised this isn't just for young people, adults as well. The lines around consent are blurred. So unless a woman is enthusiastically saying yes, I would like to participate in this, I would like to do this, and you've checked, and she not just with her body language, verbally and physically, and if you ever sense that something is a little bit off, then stop. It's okay, there will be another time. This won't be your last chance to do this. It will be okay, you can revisit it, but it's not worth putting somebody in a situation where they feel to please you they have to do this thing, and now you're up for a charge where you just thought you were both willing participants in this situation. A lot of boys, because their hormones are raging and this, that and the other, whatever else is going on in them, they're very led by their sexual urges. I think teach them how to acknowledge them. A lot of parents don't want to talk to their children about sexuality and the feelings that they've experienced. A lot of children are being taught about sex by corn. You understand? That's their first time they've seen it. That's the first time they're talking about outside of sexual education and stuff like that. The real experience, seeing it, and that's not a real example of what sexual and intimacy is. That's actually quite far removed from what actual love and intimacy is. So speaking to your children about what love, what intimacy, how you might be feeling, it might be a bit awkward, but if you don't speak to them about it, they're going to learn from their peers, and that's actually the worst thing that can happen, because their peers have no idea. They're just as ignorant as they are. So you must talk to your children, or get a family member, a trusted person to speak to them and become their go-to around consent. Young girls, we have an absolute epidemic. I cannot tell you how many cases come through of young girls sending nudes, this, that, and other. You might think, oh, my child would never do that. Yes, they would. If they like somebody and that person is pressurizing them for it, and they think, well, if you liked me, you'd show it to me. And they think, oh, okay, then I'll just do that. And then the next thing you know, it's been circulating around the school. Now, the young girl wants to self-harm or unalive herself because all of her personal business is out there. It's tragic. So those are things that in our communities right now in society that are huge issues.
Hold on.
Issues.
But let me just ask this question, because I'm going to I'm going to touch on about the safeguarding thing. But do you not think in this day and age, which I have seen, that the female kids these days, the girls, seem to be more forward than the boys in terms of trying to seduce them?
I think so. And also the way they dress. It's like some of the girls that I see on the street, even when they're going to school now, you know, the school skirt is right up, just touching under their bum, no tights, and going to school with full face of makeup on. I feel like that is it's completely different to when I was at school.
You think so?
I don't think 100% for me it was anyway. But I don't know how, parents to a girl, I wouldn't let my child outside like that.
Yeah,
I
but
wouldn't say it's completely different because we used to roll up our skirts at school and we were allowed to wear. But yeah, you was a good girl.
I didn't know anyone that did that either.
No, in our school it was that was a thing. Like we get to the school gates, everybody, but then the teachers started actually standing at certain points on the way to school and then making sure that girls were not doing that.
Just going to go back to the safeguard of obviously teaching these young ones. And just one of the things that because I taught my son about sex education. So these are the conversations I had with him. And then even going to teaching them about like his circles, teaching them about his, like with ladies, into like obviously the young girls, that if they ever get to that situation growing up, you get me? If the lady says no, no is no. You don't force her.
Yeah.
In terms of, again, there are some boys who would just sleep with any girl who's willing to have sex. They just willing to just sleep with any girls. And and sometimes what happens is sometimes you don't know the mind of state what this particular girl is in. So I've also tried to teach him that growing up, it's not any girl you just sleep with. You choose the person you want to sleep with, but even still you're choosing that person to sleep with, you also have to make sure that she is mentally also in the right place to be doing them kind of things as well. Because what you don't want to do, unfortunately, is if you sleep with her and she's not in the right frame of mind, and then she's just calling out something, a different charge on you now. You're now messed up. Even regarding to him hanging around with certain man, know your circle. Because there's also snakes in your circles.
Yeah,
so you have to also show him the certain things what snakes can do. So you know what kind of things to be looking out for. So that's like being on your P's and Q's, always being on guard. So it's just showing him them kind of things, and also teaching him about normal life, not just sitting down in front of playing computers and stuff.
I think what you just said about the boys, not just sleeping with anyone, is really valuable, because we don't really, as a society, teach boys that you're sacred too. It's not just the girls. You are sacred as well. Be aware of your value before just giving it, because I think a lot of the time men are kind of commended on their sexual conquests and how many girls they can get and whatever, not really understanding that you're valuable. You cannot just give yourself to anybody. And from a young age, that's so important to build their self-esteem as well. Don't just chase anyone. I've never heard a man say, oh, I told my son, don't just chase any girl. That's
no,
really,
that goes more often than you think.
That's valuable,
No,
because
to be fair, that goes.
I hear men they're encouraging them to get out there. They're encouraging them, go on, son, do this and do that, be a man. And even some celebrities you see for a certain birthday, they'll hook them up with a woman. I'm like, you want them to lose their virginity?
Yeah, but
like
what happened?
that?
They amplify that. My father told me from
That's
young,
good.
from when I was about 6, because he said,
That's
I see that
refreshing.
you keep running around primary school with these African and these white girls, and we're around with you. He said, I tell you, not have no girlfriend until you have your money. And you always, that's my dad used to tell me from 5, 6. My mum used to tell me the same thing. So, yeah, and then the family on both sides of my family, they used to say something similar. So you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised that some men say, no, that's
That's
foolishness.
I do teach
That's
my
really
son.
refreshing.
My granddad told me that as well. And look, he's from there over the 60s when they have the, the carrying on and then when, yeah, so it's thing. It's, I think it does depend on the character, because we have these kind of ideas and narratives, and then because we're brought up with that, we think that's universally true, and it's not. It's not.
Well, listen, you lot, time's up. So unfortunately, we have to finish for today. But I just want to say thank you for all three of you for coming on today's show. I really do appreciate it. And I hope the viewers also appreciate the conversation that we're having, which all we are trying to do is open up the community's mind in terms of healthy co-parenting, how to co-parenting, also the struggles what fathers and mothers are going through, and how we can able to see on both sides and able to maybe try to work with each other then against each other, because I think the world we now living in, we now have to learn to start working with each other. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it that one today still. So yeah, is there anything what you don't want to say before we go?
It's been a refreshing conversation. I think we need to have more conversations like this as a community. Yeah.
But listen, Rachel, I believe you'll be coming to the screens again soon with the baby mothers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Very soon.
I know you'll be coming very soon. So
Well, it's been a long time.
I know.
I'm surprised I was on there in the summer, in July, in on that same show you was on.
Was I there?
No, you weren't
Okay.
there.
I wasn't there, was I? It's been
I thought you watch it back though. I thought you watch it back.
no, I've just been in it.
All right, listen, everyone get home safe. All right, so yeah, thanks again. All right, so listen up, everyone. I want to say thank you for watching on today's show. I do want to hear your views in the comments below, so just make sure you drop them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, press the notification button anytime an episode comes out. You're not going to be the first to know, and don't forget to share the video and don't forget to like. All right, so listen up. To any fathers out there who are having any issues of getting access to see their child, do check out the website, thebabyfathers.com. It is a website that can help you start the process, because there is forms on there that can help you to get you started. All right. So listen up. Till next time from the Baby Fathers. Peace. And we out.